Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to tackle one of the most critical parts of any research paper, but one that, let's be honest, often gets a bit overlooked. We're talking about the conclusion. We're going to unpack a really simple framework that's going to help you turn your conclusions from just an afterthought into a seriously powerful final statement. So let's just kick things off with a quick question for you. What's the one section you probably write dead last, but that your readers are absolutely dying to see first? Yeah, you guessed it. It's the conclusion. This is really where all the magic happens. And that brings us to what I like to call the conclusion conundrum. It's that moment where a piece of absolutely brilliant research is in danger of stumbling right at the finish line. I mean, think about how you read papers. After you scan the title and the abstract, where do you go? Come on, be honest. You jump straight to the conclusion. And why? Because you're looking for one thing, the answer to the research question. Your conclusion has got to deliver that answer, clearly and directly. It is the big reveal of your paper. This little guideline from the journal Bioresource Technology says it all, about 150 words. Now, the key takeaway here isn't the exact number, but the idea behind it. A great conclusion isn't long, it's powerful, it's concise, and it gets straight to the point. So the big question is, how do we get that powerful conciseness? Well, luckily for us, there's a fantastic framework out there that gives us a perfect three-part structure. It's called the inverted pyramid method, and it was developed by Professor Valtencir Zucolotto. And the logic? It's just beautiful in its simplicity. You start with your most specific, most important finding, and then you gradually broaden out to explain why it matters in the bigger picture. Okay, so it breaks down into 3 easy steps. First, you lead with your main finding, the direct answer right away, no waiting. Then you provide the interpretation, the proof. This is where you back it all up with your key data. And finally, you zoom out to the contribution, connecting the dots to show why your research really matters to the wider field, or maybe even to society as a whole. All right, theory is great and all, but let's see how this thing actually works in a real published paper. We're going to break down a couple of examples to really see this structure in action. So here's a conclusion from a 2018 paper by Pereira and his colleagues. It's a nice, tight 95 words. Now let's pull it apart and see if we can spot those 3 steps of the inverted pyramid. See that? Boom. Right out of the gate, they hit you with the main finding. There's zero ambiguity here. The flexible plant is more profitable. It is the direct answer to their research question. Next up, they move right into the interpretation. They're adding nuance, they're adding context. That profitability isn't just a simple fact. It depends on the technology they used. This is the how and the why that supports that big main finding. And finally, they broaden out to the contribution. They make a recommendation that has implications for the entire field. This one sentence explains the broader impact of their specific results, and it justifies future investments. It's just a brilliant flow from specific to broad. Let's do another one, real quick, from Vieira et al. It starts, vacuum recovery of IB was an efficient technique. See, right away you can see the pattern. It leads with the main finding. The full conclusion, which is just 80 words, follows that exact same formula. It backs up the claim with specific numbers, and it ends by suggesting where future research can go from here. It's that same perfect recipe: finding, proof, contribution. Okay, what's really, really cool is seeing how a conclusion actually evolves. So let's do a little workshop. We're going to look at some initial drafts and compare them to their final published versions to see what exactly makes a conclusion go from good to great. So here we have 2 versions of a conclusion from a paper by Tovar and colleagues, an initial draft on the left and the final published version on the right. Just take a second and look at them. What changes do you think make that published version so much stronger? Let's break it down. First, the published version immediately states the novelty, the use of a single neural network. It gets rid of all those confusing acronyms, which makes it readable for a much broader audience. It improves the structure with those nice, clear numbered points. And it cuts a final sentence that was basically just stating the obvious. Every single change here is about serving the reader. Let's try one more. Here's a case study from Assumption et al. The initial draft is, you'll notice, quite a bit longer than the final published version. This is just a classic example of trimming the fat. So why is the published version so much more effective? Well, for one, it's way more concise. We're talking nearly 40% shorter. It also focuses entirely on the main result instead of getting lost in the details of specific scenarios. It's grammatically clean, And crucially, it gets rid of those vague promises about forthcoming studies. It just lets the results speak for themselves. Okay, finally, let's zoom all the way out. A great conclusion doesn't just end a section of your paper, it actually completes the entire narrative, acting as the perfect bookend to your introduction. Now, this is what perfect narrative symmetry looks like. The introduction poses a question, right? Here it's about cyclic vacuum and energy reduction, and then the conclusion provides a direct answer, using those exact same keywords. This creates this deeply satisfying sense of closure for the reader. It proves you did what you said you were going to do. So, if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. A conclusion is not just the end of your paper. It is the answer. It's the whole point, the payoff, the destination. It's the reason someone read your work in the first place. So as you sit down to write your next paper, ask yourself this question. Forget all the details for just a moment. What is the one clear answer that your research provides? Start there. If you start there, you'll have the foundation for a truly killer conclusion. Thanks for tuning in.